arrive to Al-Muzdalifah, perform wudu if you need to, then line up, face the Qibla, and pray Maghrib and Isha. Recommended, of course, to pray it in Jama'ah if you have a Jama'ah, or join in any Jama'ah that they're offering Salatul Maghrib wal Isha. Afterward, you may collect the peoples if you wish, but we'll talk about the Sunan of the Prophet ﷺ and his traditions during staying at Al-Muzdalifah. Al-Muzdalifah is a plain, is a huge land that falls between Arafah and Mina, on the way towards Mina. The pilgrims would camp overnight there, where there will not be any tents and very little facilities. So people have to be very, very light and prepare themselves to understand that this night is a very, very special night. My first experience when I went there, I was extremely delighted and happy, because everybody was the same and equal, that having the thought that this is where we're created from. And this is similar to the scene of the Day of Judgment, that the rich and the poor are all sleeping on the ground. No beds, no tents, no hotel rooms, very simple life, outdoor camping. So the Prophet ﷺ used to observe Salatul Watr whether he was traveling or resident at home. Salatul Watr is very, very important. It's a confirmed tradition of the Prophet ﷺ. You pray Salatul Watr, then you rest if you wish. And you collect the pebbles enough for throwing the next jamrah, or the pole, which is Jamratul Aqabah Kubra. As we'll talk about it inshallah when we get there, but collecting the stones or the pebbles, the Prophet ﷺ, as in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, ordered him to collect for him 7 pebbles. So he did, and he put them in the hand of the Prophet ﷺ. He looked at them and he said, similar to these you need to collect the size of the beans. Each one is the size of a bean. And do not exaggerate nor be extravagant. Do not be excessive. Some people would think, as we see, this is a wrongdoing in the video, some people would collect big stones or rocks. Some even would think that by throwing the pole with a brick, it would hurt Satan more. This is false, of course. What would benefit you and hurt Satan is the compliance with the tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the right size you see in the middle, the size of the bean. You collect all the stones in that size, and you only throw al-jamarat with those stones, not with bones, nor slippers, or Coke cans, of course. So you collect them, and you get ready to throw the stones in the morning of the 10th day, which is the Eid day. But what do we do in Muzdalifah throughout this night? And what is the proper time of staying at Al-Muzdalifah? What the Prophet ﷺ did is, he prayed Maghrib and Isha together, then he rested till Fajr. Then he prayed Salatul Fajr there, and he stood up to make supplication, takbir and talbiyah, until it was daylight. Then he started moving before sunrise. Keep this in mind.
Shaykh, before we go on, let's take a quick break and we'll get back to talking about these final moments of Al-Muzdalifah. Please stay with us. Assalamu alaikum.
اللهم إني أسألك الفردوس الأعلى من الجنة. اللهم إني أسألك الفردوس الأعلى من الجنة. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لبيك إن الحمد.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Hajj Step by Step. Before the break, Shaykh, you were talking about Al-Muzdalifah and the time frame of Al-Muzdalifah. What if someone doesn't follow this time frame? Either they leave too early, come too late, stay too long. What are the issues here?
When we oftenly discuss whenever we talk about any of the rites of Hajj, the ideal practice and the minimum requirement to fulfill the mandatory act. And then what if there is any violation concerning that? The ideal practice of the Prophet ﷺ concerning spending the night at Al-Muzdalifah is once he would arrive at Al-Muzdalifah, offer praying Maghrib and Isha, then he would rest until Fajr, and after Fajr he would stand up to make dua until it is daylight. So that means the Prophet ﷺ would spend the entire night there. And this is the proper practice. The Prophet ﷺ permitted and allowed certain people to leave past midnight. By spending even a little bit after midnight, they may leave. And accordingly, they will be able to get to Mina and do things before the rest of the pilgrims. And this is due to a reason. The Prophet ﷺ allowed women, the elders, and the weak ones, and of course the children, and those who accompany them. So if somebody has his mother with him, he would not leave her alone, so he would accompany her. The Prophet ﷺ allowed them to leave right after midnight. So the minimum requirement concerning staying at Al-Muzdalifah is to spend past midnight in Al-Muzdalifah, even by a little bit. Those who leave before that, or those who just cross by and pass by in their buses and they think that we've been to Al-Muzdalifah, it doesn't count. They have violated a mandatory practice of Al-Hajj, because spending the night at Al-Muzdalifah is wajib. And violating a wajib in Al-Hajj will be made up by a penalty, offering a sheep to be slaughtered and distributed amongst the poor as a mean of fidya or a ransom.
Some people believe that at the time in Al-Muzdalifah, pebbles should be collected for the whole next following days, which I forget the number, but comes to a lot more than the 7 that you mentioned. Is this appropriate practice? Maybe people think, with 3 million pilgrims and so many pebbles are needed, I better get them before they run out?
Well, I would like to remind myself, you and our viewers, with the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, which he advised his companions during his last Hajj, his farewell Hajj, where he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, خُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ فَلَعَلِّي لَا أَحُجُّ بَعْدَ عَامِكُمْ هَذَا. Copy me exactly in the rites of Hajj. Take the rites of Hajj from me, since I might not perform Hajj after this year. So luckily, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ recorded exactly every move that the Prophet ﷺ took, and everything that he did. And they transmitted that to us. Why? To follow. Before going for Hajj, the pilgrims, the candidates of performing Hajj, should read about Hajj, should educate themselves properly, and prepare themselves with adequate knowledge of the performance of Hajj. Why are you going to Saudi Arabia and to Mecca and to those desert places to perform Hajj? So why is the rush? Why do you have to do things just because people are doing it without complying with the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Those who are collecting so many peoples, 72 peoples for the next 3 days, this is against the Sunnah and the tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What he commanded Abdullah ibn Abbas is to collect for him 7 peoples for the next morning, which is the Eid day, to throw only 1 jamrah, which is Jamratul Aqabah. If a person collects maybe a few extra, just in case if he drops 1 or 2, it's permissible. But to occupy yourself and panic, and you have to collect more than that and fill bags, there are peoples everywhere. Do not worry about it.
Well, now that we've reached this day, the 10th day now, you said the Prophet ﷺ began the day by praying the morning prayer and then making dua. What exactly is the procedure for this dua, and then what comes next?
Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah informed us concerning the next move as saying, فَإِذَا أَفَضْتُم مِّنْ عَرَفَاتٍ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ عِنْدَ الْمَشْعَرِ الْحَرَامِ. So whenever you proceed from Arafat towards Al-Muzdalifah, then remember Allah at Al-Mash'ar Al-Haram. Al-Mash'ar Al-Haram refers to a mount which is called Quzah. This is on the borders of Mina, between Al-Muzdalifah and Mina. The Prophet ﷺ stood there and he said that وَقَفْتُ هُنَا وَجَمْعٌ كُلُّهَا مَوْقِفٌ. I stood here, and all Al-Muzdalifah is a valid place for standing. So that people would not read in one book that the Prophet ﷺ stood at Quzah and they would start searching and seeking that place.